I'd like to welcome all of you to our Immigration Summit. We're going to be talking about something that is very important to me personally, our dreamers. Our panelists will look at the challenges and opportunities facing dreamers and how we can work together to pass long overdue comprehensive immigration reform.
We still have lots to do. 90,000 young people every year age into eligibility for DACA. Those are young people at the dawn of their adult lives, thinking about starting families, thinking about going to university, thinking about getting jobs. We can do nothing more for those young people than to offer them the opportunity to enter into the DACA program. Meanwhile, we will continue to fight that fight in court. I will continue to work with leaders like Senator Kaine and Congressman Ciras to support them in the effort to find us true immigration reform.
Was not only the first Spanish language speech delivered in the Senate, but the first in any other language other than English in the Senate. And I heard his Spanish, and he's very good. No habla mejor que yo, pero habla bien. But he really is great. Let's give my friend, Senator Kaine.
Hey, thank you all, and good morning.
Senator Kaine, you are at a CHCI event here in Washington, D.C. Just your crystal ball, your political crystal ball about this thing called immigration reform, that we know is not going to be a paradise, but we need to fix and create a legal ground for a whole community. Me lo dice en inglés.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to. Well, I'll give you two crystal ball predictions about la reforma de inmigración. I had hoped that we would see action. When I voted for immigration reform in June of 2013, I really believed we'd see action, and we haven't. I had some hope that we might see action before the presidential race. I don't think we will now, watching what's going on in the House, especially with the change in leadership. But here are my two predictions. First, the issue of immigration reform will be a major issue in the presidential campaign in 2016. It will be a major issue for the candidates of both parties. There will be clear differences between the two parties. It will be a major motivator for votes in the 2016 election. I think the failure to address immigration reform will end up really hurting candidates and legislative representatives who didn't want to do it. And I think that will then provoke finally, por fin, a realization that we've got to do this. So I do think it's going to be a front and center issue, maybe in a way it's never been in a presidential race in 2016. And I think that it will have some real power in terms of the votes in 2016. I just wish we had it in the rearview mirror and we'd done it, and we were talking about other issues, but if at least I think it's going to be front and center, and that's important.
Why am I a strong supporter of immigration reform? Partly it's just a matter of corazon. I worked with these Jesuit missionaries in Honduras, 1980 and 81, took a year off in the middle of law school, and just developed such a cariño for the people in Honduras that I worked with, and saw in them all the valores that my parents had been teaching me, hard work and faith and support for family. And I mean, everything my parents had tried to teach me, I saw in the lives of the people I worked with in this very poor community. And so when I came back from Honduras in 1981 to law school, I just knew, okay, the work I'm going to do, I don't know exactly what it's going to be during my life, but it's going to be a work, it's going to be about bridge building, not bridge burning. It's going to be about bridge building, and especialmente con la población latino y otros en este país que necesitan apoyo de líderes. This is an important thing to do because immigration reform, because it's about our values, but also it makes us so much stronger. I've seen it at work in my town, Richmond. I've seen it at work in my state. We're in a global economy now. And a port is a great connection to a global economy, and an airport, if it's international, can be a great connection to a global economy, but there is no better connection to a global economy than people who have connections all over the world. And so when 1 in 9 Virginians has been born elsewhere, and they know people or businesses all over the world, suddenly that connects us even better than a port or an airport does. And so no wonder that our immigration trajectory has coincided with an economic improvement trajectory. And no wonder that the CBO says how do you increase GDP without spending one penny? Pass immigration reform. The CBO says if we pass immigration reform, it's going to have a dramatic upward push on the GDP of this nation. So for cultural reasons, for value reasons, but if those don't grab you, just act in your economic self-interest. That's why immigration reform is so important.
So since we last spoke, now we are at $91 million, so we've been able to fundraise for the Dream.us, and we're opening more partnerships with other colleges and universities, also expanding to private institutions and states that weren't part of the list. So now we're trying to go into places like Colorado, and helping states that haven't passed in-state tuition know the importance of having in-state tuition, and also how we can forge together partnerships with them if they pass in-state.
That as long as black people get killed by cops, that as long as our people get pulled over by cops who are racially profiling them, we must continue to fight. So I'll do a quick chant in the UWD manner. So I ask you to repeat with me, pero con ganas, because if you didn't do it with ganas, por eso no ganamos. I believe that.
I believe that.
I believe that we will.
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 I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win.